My wife cheated with her boss, while I was working double shifts to afford her degree, so I quietly took everything and left her with nothing. I'm a 30-year-old guy who thought I married my soulmate. We met when I was 23, and from the beginning it felt like destiny. She had this fire in her, ambitious, sharp, driven. The kind of woman who walked into a room and owned it without saying a word. I was just some guy with a decent job and a big heart, but she made me feel like that was enough. We got married 2 years later. Nothing fancy, courthouse vows, cheap rings, but big dreams. She wanted to finish her master's degree in public health, and I told her I'd support her no matter what. And I meant it. I took on a night shift at the warehouse while driving for rideshare on weekends just to keep us afloat. I was clocking close to 70 hours a week, but I didn't care. Every time I saw her hunched over her laptop, eyes glazed from late-night studying, I told myself, this is temporary. We're building something. The first couple years felt like we were in sync. Tired, yes, but still us. We laughed over cheap takeout, binged crime docs on our one day off together, and talked about our future house with a garden and maybe a dog. I thought we were growing stronger. But something shifted around year 4. She started staying on campus later. Said group projects were dragging. Her phone, once left everywhere, was suddenly always face down. She changed her passwords. She stopped sitting beside me on the couch and started sleeping with her back turned to me. I noticed. Of course I noticed. But I told myself not to be insecure. Stress does weird things to people, right? A few of my buddies made comments. Asked if everything was okay. One even said, "You sure she's not seeing someone?" I laughed it off, told him to shut up. I wasn't about to start doubting the woman I was breaking my back to support. Besides, I loved her, and when you love someone like that, you don't see the red flags. Not until they're too big to ignore. It's funny how hindsight sharpens everything. Back then, I thought I was being respectful, giving her space, trusting her hustle. But now, when I play it all back in my head, the signs were everywhere, screaming at me in a language I refused to understand. Her phone was the first change. She used to leave it charging in the kitchen overnight. Now it never left her side, and even when she showered. Always face down, always on silent. I remember one time it lit up with a message while we were watching a movie. She grabbed it so fast I didn't even finish asking who it was. Just said it was a classmate. I believed her. Then there were these study retreats, weekend getaways to clear her head with classmates before big exams. I wanted to go with her once, even booked the time off work as a surprise. She flipped. Told me I was being controlling, that she needed her space and I was suffocating her. So I apologized. I canceled the time off. I bought her snacks for the trip instead. Like a fool. The worst night, though, still clings to me. She came home well past midnight, heels in hand, wobbling through the front door. Hair a mess, breath thick with red wine. But that wasn't what broke me. It was the scent. Heavy cologne, not mine. Not anyone we knew. When I asked, she said she'd hugged one of her gay classmates and laughed it off. I nodded and let it go, because love makes you doubt your instincts. Because when you've spent years breaking your body to support someone, you'd rather lie to yourself than admit they're lying to you. Even my birthday, she forgot until the morning of. Handed me a gift card from a gas station and said, "Happy birthday, babe. I've got a headache," that was it. No dinner, no cake. Not even a hug, and I remember just sitting there, wondering when I stopped mattering. That night, I came home soaked in sweat, grease, and exhaustion. 17 hours straight, 10 on the warehouse floor, another 7 behind the wheel dodging potholes and drunk riders. My feet felt like bricks, my back screamed with every breath, and all I wanted was to collapse into her arms. But she wasn't home. A text blinked on my phone. Last-minute work dinner with the team. Don't wait up. I stared at the heart emoji for a long time. It felt mechanical, like something she copy-pasted to keep up appearances. The house was quiet, cold. I peeled off my uniform, reheated some rice and leftover chicken from 2 days ago, and sat at the edge of the couch chewing in silence. No TV, no music. Just the hum of the fridge and the sound of my own chewing. Halfway through my plate, I just stopped. I couldn't swallow. My chest tightened and my eyes started to burn. I didn't even know why. Maybe it was the months of sleepless nights, or the loneliness that had crawled into my skin and made itself at home. Or maybe it was the quiet realization that this, me, alone, ignored, forgotten, wasn't temporary anymore. I dropped the fork, buried my face in my hands, and I cried, not a single tear, full-on, body-shaking sobs that echoed in our empty apartment. I hadn't cried like that since my dad's funeral. And yet, here I was, broken over a woman who used to make me feel invincible. That's when it happened. The iPad on the counter lit up. Her device was synced. I didn't mean to look. I wasn't snooping. But the notification just popped up. A photo. Her face in the office, full makeup, lips parted, tight blouse, way too much cleavage. And a message below it, "Wish you were under my desk again." It wasn't to me. It was from her boss. My whole body went still. My hands trembled. My heart felt like it left my chest entirely. I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything. I just stared. And something inside me snapped. The next morning, I kissed her on the forehead like nothing had happened. She mumbled something about a meeting and rushed out.
Still wearing that fake perfume smile combo she'd perfected over the years.
And I let her go. I waved from the doorway, coffee in hand, pretending to be the loving, clueless husband. But inside, something had shifted. A switch flipped. I wasn't going to blow up. Not yet. I needed more. Needed to see it for what it was. Not just one steamy message, but the full betrayal in ugly, undeniable detail. So I started documenting everything. I pulled every synced device we had. The iPad, the laptop, even the old desktop we barely used. I took screenshots of texts, saved photos to a hidden drive, and exported call logs, time-stamped, date-matched. I even backed up her calendar. There were entire evenings labeled group study that matched the hotel reservations I later found under her email. Then, I did something I never thought I'd do. I installed a tracker app on her phone. Quiet, hidden, legal. 2, since it was still on our shared plan. The first night it pinged her at a downtown hotel. I sat in the car outside for 3 hours. I couldn't bring myself to go in. I just stared at the glowing lobby, watching suited men and laughing women pass through those glass doors. Somewhere in there was the woman I married, wrapped up in someone else's arms, and yet, when she came home the next morning with a latte in hand and a fake yawn, I smiled. Told her she deserved a break. Even booked her a spa day to relax from all the school stress. She called me sweet. Said I was the only man who ever really cared. I nodded and handed her the gift card. She didn't know I was dying inside, and she sure as hell didn't know I was building a quiet, devastating case that would end her entire world. I was days away from leaving. I had the storage unit rented, my essentials packed, legal consultation scheduled, and a second bank account set up in my name only. My exit plan was clean, quiet, and almost ready to execute. I was counting down the days until she walked in one night, eyes puffy, voice shaking, holding a pregnancy test like it was a wedding ring. "I'm pregnant," she whispered. My brain short-circuited. I don't even remember what I said. Maybe nothing. Maybe some stunned stammer about how happy I was. I couldn't think. I couldn't breathe. All I could do was smile. Smile through a growing storm of nausea, suspicion, and heartbreak. She cried in my arms, telling me how scared she was, but how she knew I'd be a great father. That she was finally ready to build our future, said the timing was a sign. A blessing. A fresh start, and I held her like I meant it. Nodded like I believed every word, but inside, all I heard was the voice in my head screaming, "It's not yours." It can't be. I didn't let it show. Over the next few days, I played the part. Googled stroller brands, asked if she wanted names from her side of the family, cooked her favorite meals, rubbed her back when she got nauseous. But behind the curtain, I was already scheduling a prenatal paternity test. Quietly, discreetly. When the results came in, I sat in the car staring at the screen for almost an hour. Probability of paternity, 0%, 0. I felt everything and nothing at once. The baby wasn't mine. The family she claimed to want with me never existed. It was all a fantasy built on lies, betrayal, and someone else's DNA, and yet I didn't confront her. I didn't scream or expose her. Because now I had everything I needed. The final nail. The perfect card to play, and I was going to make sure it destroyed her. Quietly. Precisely. Completely. It took me a few days to track her down, her boss's wife. I found her LinkedIn first, then a public record that listed her as co-owner of a small nonprofit. I emailed the organization under a fake consulting inquiry, scheduled a meeting, and showed up in a button-down shirt with a manila envelope under my arm and a stomach full of nerves. She was polite, composed. Maybe early 40s, sharp eyes. Didn't smile much. When I sat down and told her who I really was, her face didn't flinch, just leaned back slowly and crossed her arms. "Let me guess," she said. "It's the intern again?" I blinked. "Again?" She nodded, like this was a scene she'd lived through before. "He gets bored." Plays mentor. Then plays house. I always wondered when it would be your wife's turn. I handed her the envelope. Screenshots, dates, texts, hotel receipts, and the kicker, a copy of the prenatal test. She flipped through it without a word. When she reached the last page, she looked up and asked, "Does she know you know?" "No," I said. "Not yet." She smiled then, small, icy. "Good." We talked for an hour. Just the two of us, two strangers stitched together by the same betrayal. She told me she wasn't shocked. She'd stayed for their kids, their investments, and the image they built. But this time, she was ready to burn it all down. "I don't want to just catch him," she said. "I want it to sting deep." That's when we made a pact. No emotional blow-ups. No messy confrontations. Just patience, strategy, precision. She leaned in, her voice low and deliberate. "When you strike, I want front row seats," and in that moment, I realized this wasn't just about heartbreak anymore. This was war, and I wasn't fighting alone. The next step was silence and strategy. I booked a consultation with a lawyer downtown. Not one of those billboard attorneys, but a sharp, discreet woman referred by a friend in HR. I laid it all out. The affair, the fake study nights, the pregnancy, the paternity test. She didn't blink. Just nodded slowly and asked, "Do you have a prenup?" I did. We signed it years ago, back when she was broke and I had a modest inheritance. She thought it was romantic, that I was just protecting both of us. What she didn't do was read it carefully. My lawyer did. Turns out that prenup was a goldmine. It had specific clauses about infidelity, financial sabotage, and even asset division in the event of dishonesty impacting shared goals. Her cheating, her lies, her secret pregnancy, they triggered everything. Over the next 2 weeks, I began shifting accounts, quietly, legally. I moved my paychecks into a new personal account, unlinked myself from our joint savings, transferred ownership of the car, which I bought and solely paid for, under my name only. She didn't notice. She was too busy texting her mentor. I stopped paying into our rent and utilities, let the autopay lapse and deleted my info. But I acted the same. Same good morning kiss, same dinner check-ins, same fake smiles. She didn't realize she was covering the whole financial load on her own now. Meanwhile, I backed up everything. Every message, photo, lie. Created a digital timeline. Compiled it all in a private drive with labeled folders like evidence, financials, and final move. Then, I called my friend Marcus and the one who owed me a favor and had him rent a small one-bedroom under his name. Clean, quiet, untraceable. I stood in that empty apartment one night, staring at the bare walls and creaky hardwood floors. It wasn't home. Not yet, but it would be soon, and she'd never see it coming. She came home glowing, lipstick perfect, hair curled, eyes bright in a way I hadn't seen in months. "I have a surprise," she said, dropping her keys on the counter. "My boss is throwing a dinner for me. I just got promoted." A promotion from him, the man who got her pregnant. The man who texted her things I still can't erase from my brain. I nodded and forced a smile. "That's amazing, babe." "We should celebrate," she squealed, kissed me on the cheek, and rushed off to try on dresses. I stood in the hallway as she twirled in the mirror, holding up a shimmery champagne-colored gown I'd never seen before. "Got it on sale," she lied. The tags were still on. Designer label. Probably a gift from him. At the restaurant, everything sparkled. The tablecloths, the candles, the wine glasses. Her. She played the part so well. The doting wife, the charming employee, the woman who worked her ass off to earn this title. The boss sat 3 seats away, toasting to hard work and vision while I sipped my drink in silence, every word tasting like poison. She reached over and held my hand, and for a second I almost believed her. Almost. But my eyes kept drifting to her phone. buzzing on the table. A familiar rhythm. Probably him texting from across the room. I watched her laugh. Throw her head back. Pretend she was proud of something that wasn't even real, and I sat there, a ghost at my own funeral. When we got home, she passed out fast. The wine, the thrill, the lies catching up with her. I lay beside her, eyes wide open, staring at the cracks in our ceiling like they were constellations in a sky I no longer belonged to. She mumbled in her sleep. Something about baby names, and I just lay there hollow, because tomorrow she would wake up to silence, and everything she thought was hers, the life, the love, the illusion, would be gone. I left before the sun even thought about rising. No note. No goodbye, just silence. I moved through the apartment like a ghost, quiet, calculated, intentional. I packed only the essentials, a few clothes, my laptop, backup drives, and the folder with every piece of evidence I'd collected. The drawers she cluttered with makeup and coffee shop receipts, I didn't touch them. The wedding photos still on the wall? I left them crooked. Let her wonder what moment tilted the frame. By the time she'd wake up, the only thing left of me would be the sound of a front door that never closed behind me again. I drove to the new apartment without music. No thinking. Just breathing. Just existing. When I stepped into that tiny, unfamiliar space, I didn't cry. I didn't smile either. I just sat on the mattress and listened to the echo of nothing. Then I got to work. I froze the joint credit cards. Shut down the shared checking account. Canceled every auto pay I'd ever signed up for. Rent, Wi-Fi, utilities. Changed my direct deposit to the new bank. Within hours, she'd go from thinking she had stability to realizing she was standing on ice that had already cracked beneath her. The calls started around noon. First just one, then another. Then 3 in a row. Where are you? Did you take my keys? Is this a joke? I didn't answer. By evening, the messages turned bitter. Accusations, screaming voicemails. Then suddenly one sobbing ones. Desperate apologies. Empty promises. Still, I said nothing. She didn't know, not yet, that I'd also contacted her university that morning. Forwarded them timestamps, hotel check-ins, screenshots, raised concerns about falsified attendance logs and academic dishonesty. Her scholarship? Her degree? Under review, she had burned everything we built. I just made sure she'd feel the heat, quietly, legally, permanently. It didn't take long for the dominoes to fall. The boss's wife didn't waste a second. She filed for divorce that same week and sent the affair dossier, complete with dates, screenshots, and even pregnancy documentation, straight to the company's HR department. By the end of the month, both cheaters were placed on administrative leave pending investigation. Her promotion vanished. So did the company laptop, the work card, the fake smiles from her coworkers. Everything she built on that man's ego crumbled like sand under a wave. Her savings dried up within 2 weeks. The rent bounced. Utilities were cut off. And the worst part? Her boss stopped answering her calls. Completely ghosted her. She messaged him publicly once, a vague, desperate tweet about loyalty in dark times. His account mysteriously went private a day later. She tried leaning on her friends, but most of them were our friends. People who watched me kill myself with double shifts to put her through school. People who saw how hard I loved her. And when they learned what she'd done, the silence was deafening. One by one, they vanished from her corner. Even her own family turned on her. Her mother called me in tears. Said she didn't raise her daughter to do this. Her father, who once barely looked me in the eye, sent a message saying, "I'm sorry, son." And she spiraled. I could tell from the gaps in her online presence. The late-night rants, the photos that slowly disappeared from her socials, the slow erosion of a life that looked perfect on the outside. Then came the final message. Just 3 words, "Can we talk?" I stared at it for a long time. Thought about every sleepless night, every lie, every sacrifice, every insult to my love. Then I typed 1 word back, "No," and blocked her. That silence, it felt like justice. I never went looking for updates, but they found me anyway. Mutual friends, old neighbors, even coworkers who didn't know we'd split until weeks after I vanished, they all trickled in with pieces of the aftermath. Little stories, glimpses of the fallout. She dropped out of school first. Couldn't afford tuition anymore, and once her academic dishonesty review began, the writing was on the wall. Her scholarship was revoked. Credits frozen. She tried to appeal, but with the documentation I'd sent in, there wasn't much left to fight for. Next came the apartment. She missed 2 months of rent and got slapped with a final notice taped to her door. Her parents had to co-sign the lease originally, so they got dragged into it too. And trust me, they were not pleased. I heard she moved back in with her mother. The same woman she once called overbearing and toxic. Now she was under that same roof again, pregnant, jobless, and completely stripped of the life she'd built on my back. The boss? He denied everything. Refused to acknowledge the baby. Claimed the affair was misunderstood. His HR statement was cold and calculated, and he quietly went on personal leave while his lawyers handled the mess. She tried working at a local cafe to make ends meet. Then picked up hours at a grocery store. From networking events and corporate cocktails to bagging produce and asking if customers wanted paper or plastic, I won't lie, it stung to hear. Not because I missed her, but because I remembered who she used to be before the lies. Do I feel sorry for her? A little, but not guilty. She burned our home to the ground. All I did was walk away from the ashes. She gave me emptiness. So I left her with the one thing she handed me so freely. Nothing. Peace doesn't arrive like a thunderclap. It creeps in, quiet, subtle. A morning where the air feels lighter. A night where you fall asleep without knots in your chest. A meal that tastes like joy, not survival. I rebuilt my life brick by brick. Got promoted a few months after leaving. A management role that came with a better salary, real benefits, and for the first time, respect, not just as a worker. As a man who'd clawed his way out of someone else's mess, I traveled a bit. Nothing flashy. A weekend in Seattle. A solo trip to Denver where I hiked until my knees ached and my heart felt brand new. I stood on a ridge once, wind screaming in my ears, and realized I didn't hate her anymore. I wasn't angry. I wasn't bitter. I was just free. Eventually, I met someone. Not someone who saved me. I saved myself first. But she saw me, all of me. Loved me without needing to be worshipped. Without hidden conditions. We're not rushing. I've learned that love, real love, doesn't have a clock. Every now and then, my old inbox pings with a name I once said in my sleep. She writes apologies, updates, even photos of the baby. Sometimes she says, "He looks like you." Sometimes she just writes, "I wish things were different." I never reply. Not once, because she had everything. My loyalty, my time, my body, my heart. She chose destruction. And now, I choose peace. No social media rants. No revenge blog posts. No screaming matches outside a courthouse. Just silence. And a life she doesn't get to witness. I think about the last words I ever sent her. The simple, brutal no. Sometimes that's all you need. Not to destroy someone, just to let them sit in the ruins they built. Because in the end, the best revenge wasn't taking anything from her. It was leaving her with exactly what she gave me. Nothing.